Hey Rick, how you doing?
Hey, good morning, Keith. How are you?
Doing great, really great. You ready to get to it?
Yes, sir.
You know, I'm always just amazed at how when I do the practice, which is always, but by doing it consistently, it allows me to deepen my consciousness and handle the next thing that comes up a little bit better than before. And that if there's a new situation or something that looks new arises, then that becomes an opportunity to grow and deepen my consciousness too. The title of this podcast is Life is Constantly Being Thrown Away Like the Ashtray. So I'm going to give you a story that Michael Singer talked about, and then I want to apply it here to what we're going to talk about today. He tells a story that if you have an injury to your hand and it requires surgery, so you go to the doctor and therapist and they give you clay and they tell you to mold this clay into an ashtray. So you're working on the ashtray, for weeks and months and whatever it takes to get your hand, to really do the therapy. But when you're unconscious, you're trying to make the ashtray perfect. You're trying to make sure it's even and flat on the bottom, that all the edges and corners are just right. So, I mean, it's if you're going to take it to market and you want to get a high price for it. So you come in after all these weeks or months of working on an ashtray, and you sit down there to the doctor, to show them your ashtray. It's as if it's an extension of you, your identity. The doctor just doesn't even look at the ashtray, just pitches it, pitches it to the side, and you feel your ego be bruised because you made it to the ashtray. The doctor's not interested in the ashtray. The doctor's interested in your hand. Like, is your hand better? That's what life is. It's not about the situations. I mean, what it's about is who you're being while you're handling or dealing with the situation. And I think about that all the time. I'm in one meeting and it seems like the most important thing in the world. I'm taking one trip and there's nothing more important than this trip. I'm in traffic and nothing is more important than this driver who is in front of me that is purposely sat there, to bother me, intentionally to ignore me. Like everything becomes about this one moment and then it passes and it's thrown away and it's replaced by the next moment that I get worked up in. But it's not about any of that, when you're thinking about in terms of deepening your consciousness. What it's about is who you're being as you interact with all of these situations, as life shows up, as people show up and present themselves in whatever form they do. And that doesn't mean that I don't deal with situations. I do. But what's primary, what's paramount is who I'm being as I deal with those situations, because they'll be thrown away. I will be, what's constant in those situations. And so I really learned to look at like, oh, and you said this to me many times, quoting, Churchill, that life is one damn thing after another. And if that's the case, I want to be peaceful as all those different and new situations, pass before me. I want to raise every single moment, even the challenging ones. And if I work on myself, I can make everything a little bit better. Even the worst things, I can still make it a little bit better. So, what are your thoughts, Rick, about that? About life is constantly being thrown away like the ashtray?
Wow. Well, I think you just did the podcast. I don't think I have much to add beyond that. I think the most important part is to just accept yourself and stand on your own 2 feet and give yourself some pats on the back about being resilient. And I think part of what we go through is this idea that, quote, I can't take it anymore, or this is the same old thing, or I wish I could manage this in a different way. And those quotes are all things that tend to run us down and tend to reinforce the idea that we're throwing life away instead of living it on purpose. The part about living life on purpose that's so hard is it takes effort to monitor what's going on. And the point of being present and the point of being accepting is the idea of having each moment of awareness about what's going on, but without judging it, not judging it, not saying it's good, not saying it's bad, just experiencing that moment. Life lasts so much longer if you're able to do that instead of trying to rush through things that you think are wastes or throwaways or not important. The idea that you can prepare dinner, for example, and just be in a very mystical high elevated place by chopping your vegetables, or just by simply sitting, just being yourself, sitting. It's it's an amazing thing that we try to rush stuff and we try to go to the good things, right? We always want to be at Disneyland. We don't want to be in traffic. We want to be at Disneyland. There's no difference.
There's
It's
no
only
difference.
it's only the label you put on it. I'm happy because I'm at Disneyland and my family's here. I'm loving my life in this moment. It's exciting. Or I hate myself. I hate the traffic. I'm late. I do this every day. What's wrong with me? Blah, blah, blah. The point is, those are all choices that we make. So I think throwing our lives away and mistaking the great things for the only part of life that's worth living is a huge, huge mistake. And I think, lastly, I just want to say something I think that I've noticed about generations. I'm a boomer, and I think our theme was Peter Pan. We never wanted to grow up. We wanted to have options. Comparing our generation, my generation, with, let's say, the Generation Z people, what I've noticed about the kids today is that they're less interested in risk. They have less sex. They don't get drunk very much. They live with their parents. There's a lot of things that I think are troubling to me about that, because this risk aversion is the idea that anything that makes me feel bad has to be controlled. And I think that's exactly the opposite of how life should be. You have to have some experience with discomfort, with getting out of your comfort zone, with being afraid, being overwhelmed, in order to develop some resilience. It's uncomfortable at first, but then it becomes better. So I guess I don't want to get off on the tangents about the differences in generation, but I do think that that's a thorn in the side of humanity, that we're always seeking this freedom from pain and just pure pleasure. It doesn't exist, and it's a false trail.
Oh, I totally agree, Rick. And with respect to that, of just being comfortable doing the work, being comfortable being uncomfortable. Like, if you can do that, man, you can really make some strides. And when I think about all the situations that occur in a day, there is a gift in recognizing that every situation is an opportunity to go deeper, to be more conscious, to really expand your capacity to be loving and kind, and practice acceptance. And I find that very comforting. I really do. And having that top of mind helps me not get bogged down about, where my priorities are. Like, this is the most important thing. No, who I'm being, what I'm working on internally, that's the most important thing. Like, me being conscious, me being, my observer being in charge, like, that's the most important thing. And then, like you said, if you can do that, then you stop judging what's good or what's bad. Like, it's all just life, it's all just an opportunity. And I argue that for me, and perhaps for you too, the things that I have struggled the most with, now I start to welcome them. I'm like, I want to see that again. Whether it's a technical situation, and my mind has made presenting to, like, this week I had to present to the enterprise, the strategy development team. It's a team I've never presented to before. They were asking for content that I'd never done before. They gave me wide flexibility on how I would do it. And I remember my mind trying to make it a big deal, like, oh my God, what are you going to do? There's a lot of writing on this. This is for the enterprise. And, they're asking you for your input and about how they're going to develop the strategy around well-being. And I was like, I'm not making a big deal out of how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do my practice, wake up the next morning, and, just do my best, because there'll be one more situation after this that my mind is going to make a big deal, and people do it with their relationships too. Somebody, a spouse didn't come home on time, like they thought they would, or they didn't tell them I love you, or they didn't, do something, clean the house, and you make that like the world is going to end. No, this is about you working on yourself when those things don't happen, or when your expectations aren't met. And I've just really learned to welcome that stuff when it comes up for me, to say, I need that experience again so I can work on that.
Mhm.
I need that again, like work on that. One of the things, I'm playing pickleball quite a bit now. And one of the things that has been a glaring deficiency is the return of serve to my backhand. Man, I'm like 50-50 on that thing. And in the last couple of weeks, I told everybody, hit everything to my backhand. Everything.
That's
I'm
great.
not, I'm not
That's
running
great.
around. I'm not running around this backhand. No, hit everything too. That thing is going to get better. And
Good
so,
for you.
yeah, and that's how I look at all these situations, because once that serve is hit to me, there's going to be another one that's thrown away, just like all these other situations in life, just constantly thrown away. And all I'm doing is I'm working on my backhand. And what I said before, the metaphor was the ashtray. And then before you know it, it's me having fun with it, me having fun with the ashtray, me being alive and turned on and blissed out by the ashtray, by my backhand. And before you know it, I got a better, if maybe my backhand doesn't improve, but my ability to have fun while working on my backhand, that's going to grow exponentially. So Rick, thank you for a great show, man. I love you. I hope people practice this in their lives and their relationships.
Yeah, I learned so much from listening to your stories. That you're really wonderful about connecting the life event that you've experienced with the lesson. Thanks, Keith.
Thank you, Rick. I love you.
I love you. Adios.
Adios.